Hi guys, so I am having an issue with technology right now. That's why I'm a little late. I'm sorry. But I am going to be speaking here in the background, and I'm just going to show you guys the presentation. So today, oops. My name is Lily, and I am the current AmeriCorps at the West Valley Outdoor Learning Center. And welcome to our first Facebook Live of the summer. I'm hoping that I can get this figured out a little better next time. And I am sorry we had to postpone until today, but we had some unforeseen circumstances yesterday or Friday that didn't allow us to do it on Friday. So thank you guys for joining me today. And again, I'm sorry you can't actually see me, but today we are going to talk about wildfire season. So I know that a lot of us are familiar with this, but I want to ask you guys something first. So what 3 things do we need in order to keep a fire alive? And I want you guys to try and think in the comment and put your answers in the comment section. And while you jot down your answers, I am just going to chat a little bit about the Facebook Lives that are coming up. So I plan to do at least 2 more of these Facebook Lives this summer. So if there's anything you really want me to talk about, please let me know in the comment section, and I will let you guys know that it is just me today. So I may not see your comments until after the live, and I will do my best to answer you guys, but since it's just me, I might miss something, and I promise I will answer you back right away, or as soon as I can anyway. I see we have a couple people online. Thank you. I can't actually see who it is, but thank you guys for being here. And Tiffany said oxygen, heat, and fuel. And you are absolutely right. So our first one is oxygen, fuel, and some kind of a spark or igniter. So heat is right. Great job, Tiffany. So without one of these things, a fire actually can't stay alive. So oxygen is all around us, but some examples of fuel might be like dried grass, trees, gasoline, or even cotton. So basically anything that can be burned can actually be used as fuel. And then a spark or igniter is something that's going to start the fire. So heat, it also can be an igniter or something that we need. So lightning, a match, a lighter, or even like fireworks or a shock from a cable or a campfire spark can all be things that can start this fire. So now that we know what can start a fire and keep it going, we're going to talk a little bit more about wildfires. And since that's our live today. So usually fire season lasts from May until October, but more recently, within the last few years, it's actually lasting from May all the way till December. So that's been kind of unheard of in the past. And around this time last year, there were already 1.4 million acres that were burned from wildfires. And that's about the same that we're seeing this year too. So 1.4 million acres in the U.S. And that is actually larger than the state of Rhode Island, which is crazy to think about. So wildfires actually spread faster in hot, dry, and windy conditions. So that's why we see a lot of wildfires in the summer months. And some of you probably know, but Washington And a lot of the western United States are in a drought right now. So that means that we don't have as much water as we used to, and things are going to be dry. And that dry brush and the dry trees actually make the perfect fuel for fires. Wind is also perfect for fires. Wind brings more oxygen and helps to spread fires. Wind can carry sparks from a wildfire for about a mile. So a mile away, a wind can bring this little spark from a wildfire and start a new wildfire somewhere else. And Spokane is a pretty windy area, right? So we see a lot of fires around here because of that. I mentioned a little bit earlier, but lightning can cause wildfires. So lightning strikes the earth over 100,000 times every day. So that's a lot of times, but we don't see that many fires, right? We're not seeing 100,000 fires starting from lightning every day. So lightning only starts a fire about 10 to 20% of the time. The main reason fires are started are actually due to humans, which I'm going to talk about a bit later. But just one more fun fact about wildfires is that wildfires actually burn faster when they are traveling uphill. So the steeper the slope, the faster the fire moves, which is interesting to think about, and maybe something you didn't know. So if you're standing on top of a hill and a fire is coming towards you, it's going to move really fast. So I don't recommend standing on a hill, standing anywhere near fire, actually, because fires can move very fast too. In forests, fires are moving around 6 or 7 miles an hour, which may not seem super fast, but it's really fast. And in fields, fires can reach up to 14 miles an hour, which again is super fast, and it's really going to be hard to outrun a fire either way. So like I said, most of the reason forest fires are started is because of humans. 4 out of 5 wildfires are started by humans. So this includes things like people throwing out their burning cigarettes or not putting out campfires all the way. Another example is it's a El Dorado gender reveal party fire that was in California. I believe that was last year. And that fire alone burned over 7,000 acres of land. So just someone going out and having a little party, and that little spark started a huge wildfire. And something you may not have thought about too, other than those two things, are cars. Cars can start wildfires. So if you're towing something, or if you have something dragging under your car, that can cause friction, which can cause a spark. So have you guys ever had socks on and rubbed them on the carpet and then touched something or someone, and there was like a shock, right? So that kind of static shock can cause a fire if the shock was given the right fuel. So when something is under a car and dragging on the road, it creates that same kind of a similar kind of friction and a shock. And since there's a lot of dry grass around, that shock will create that spark, which will then create a fire. So while most fires are man-made, natural fires are normal and are really good for the land and animals. So a lot of people think that fires are not a good thing, but they actually are when they are done in the right way and on purpose, kind of naturally. The land and plants and animals need fires in order to survive and really thrive. So lodgepole pines and jack pines have actual pine cones that only release their seeds when a fire comes through. So in order to actually spread and have more jack pines and lodgepole pines, there has to be a fire around in order for their seeds to come out of the pine cone. You can also see in this picture of the pine tree, and of all pine trees, that pine trees have branches that are really high up, and this helps to protect them from fires. So when a fire comes through, they're usually not really, really tall, and so they'll just kind of come through, maybe burn any of the lower branches, but most of those branches where all the energy from the tree goes are much higher and won't even get touched by the fire. Hello, Katie. Thank you for joining me today. So you can also see that these pine trees have really thick bark. So this thick bark is a great adaptation for fires, because when a fire comes through, it's going to burn out that outer layer of bark, but the inside is actually still alive and the tree is totally fine. And you can kind of see that in the left upper picture. You can see that the tree is still growing. Even though it burned, there's still green coming out from the tree. So the tree is still alive even though there was a fire. Some of the other trees, like the aspen trees, all share the same root system. And I did a Facebook post about this, or a social media post about this last week. Since all of these trees share the same root system, when one or a couple trees die, it'll immediately be able to send up a new tree, and it's a lot faster for the regrowth. So when a fire comes through and burns part of an aspen root tree system, the roots are still there and it can easily sprout a new tree. So not only plants though, but animals also benefit from fires. Specifically, prairie dogs help to keep fires from getting too wild. So prairie dogs eat a lot of grasses, and they live in grasslands and prairies, and they eat all of this grass and actually help it so that fires don't get out of control, because they're eating all of the grass, which would be a fuel for the fire. So fires won't get crazy where there are prairie dogs around, and actually you'll see fewer fires because prairie dogs are eating all of that grass. Another animal, the black kite, which is the bird in this slide, uses fire very differently, and it's actually really cool. So black kites eat meat, and while there aren't any studies on black kites using fire, people have seen black kites taking hot, fiery, smoldering sticks and deliberately starting fires. So they're starting fires on purpose. They take these sticks and they drop them in an area, and when that fire kind of starts, all of the animals and insects come running out, and these birds will come down and they take advantage of that, and they capture all of these insects and rodents that are escaping from the fire. And like I said, there aren't any actual studies, but it does seem super interesting. And these birds are able to use wildfires to their advantage. So natural fires and controlled burns actually help to clear out all of that underbrush and the dead brush and leaves and grasses, and make it less likely for really big, bad, huge wildfires to start. So since I just mentioned controlled burns, I thought maybe I should explain what a controlled burn is. A controlled burn is not a wildfire in that it doesn't go crazy. So a controlled burn is a burn or a fire that is specifically put there by humans that are firefighters. So this fire is under control and is watched very closely. Controlled burns are only done in the proper weather conditions, and there's a team that is constantly watching the fire. So these fires are used to keep brushes and grass from overgrowing, and to help prevent those really big fires from happening. So it makes the area safer. And these huge devastating wildfires happen when there's a lot of overgrown dry grass and brush. So all these controlled burns actually help to not have these really, really big devastating fires. So these controlled burns are done by firefighters, but are specifically really done by hotshot crews. So hotshot crews are firefighters that specialize in working with wildfires. They are ones that you see like right up next to the fires, helping to control them. Hi Tina, thank you for joining us today. So hotshot crews are basically an elite team of firefighters that put their life on the line every time they go out. You can see in all these pictures, they are right there with the fire. So they get up close to the fire to help prevent it from spreading. They use water, fire deterrents, and they set up areas to help stop the fire from spreading. They come at the fire from all different angles. So these are hotshot crews and firefighters, which hotshot crews are firefighters, but the goal of wildlife firefighters are first to get that fire under control and then to get the fire out. So most wildfires are really, really crazy, really crazy. And so we need to get those fires under control before we even get them out. So you have to think about how you can get this fire under control to stop it from spreading. So the aftermath of fires can look pretty devastating and really bad. So on the picture on the left, you can see that it looks all dead. It's all brown, black, nothing looks like it's alive. But in reality, that soil is actually healthier and better for plants now that it's been burned. There's a lot more nutrients in this rich soil, and it allows plants to grow even better and easier than before the fire. So in the pictures on the right, you can actually see all the grasses are growing back, there are flowers, and as grasses and flowers grow back, all of the birds and the animals and insects will all start coming back too. And this doesn't take very long. Within a few years, you're going to have new tree sprouts growing. So natural fires are totally normal and are actually really healthy for the earth. And it's the unnatural and man-made fires that we can see that really get out of control and unmanageable. So what can you do to help prevent forest fires? So there are several things that you can do. If you see someone flicking a burning cigarette onto the ground, you should tell someone. So burning cigarettes are a huge reason many forest fires start. If you can tell an adult that you see a cigarette, or if you are an adult, and get someone to put it out. Because if that cigarette happens to catch on something that's really dry, then it'll start a big fire and it'll just spread all over the place. Another big reason for that fires start is because of campfires that get out of control or that restart. So a campfire, just because you try and put it out, if you don't put it out the right way, it can relight. And an easy way to make sure that that doesn't happen is to put it out all the way. So having a bucket of water or a fire hose near your fire is really important in case that fire gets out of control. So if you have a spark go out somewhere and all of a sudden you have a little fire on the outside of your fire pit, then you can easily put some water on it, put it out. Water is also necessary if you need it if you're going to be putting out your fire. You want to start out by sprinkling a little bit of water on it and mixing it with your fire and your coals in order to help put it out. And the more water you put on and mix it, the cooler your fire and your coals are going to get. So you will know if your fire is completely out and it won't relight if you can keep your hand on the coals for at least 30 seconds. So if you can touch the coals for that long, then your fire's not going to start up, it's totally out, and you have prevented another forest fire. Another way you can prevent forest fires is by turning off your car. So as I said before, like when you have a car and it's dragging things, then it can start a fire. But your car can also send out little sparks, especially older cars sometimes. And that little spark, if you are parked near or on some dried grass or brush, it can easily start a fire. So if you just turn your car off, then you're going to help prevent another fire. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Smokey the Bear because I think most of us have probably seen Smokey the Bear before, at least a picture of him, or we've heard about Smokey the Bear, or we've heard that only you can prevent forest fires. So I wanted to talk a little about who Smokey the Bear is and why he's so important. So Smokey the Bear is known around the country for helping to prevent forest fires or making people aware of forest fires. And he was actually based off a real-life bear cub. This cub was caught in a wildfire in New Mexico in 1950. So there was a huge fire that was spreading really quickly across this forest in New Mexico. And firefighters that were fighting it were told that there was a bear cub that someone had found that was caught in the fire. As the firefighters heard of the bear cub, the firefighters themselves actually got stuck in the path of the fire. It was a really, really bad fire. So when fires get really bad and large enough, they can actually produce their own wind and weather systems. And so that's when you get this, it's called a firestorm. And at this point, it was a firestorm. So these firefighters were trying to get to the bear cub, but get caught in the firestorm. And the firefighters were able to survive by lying face down on a rock slide for over an hour while the fire burned past them. Now, they survived. The cub survived too as this fire went through, but the cub, his feet and his hind legs were burned very badly. The firefighters were able to go rescue the cub and treat his burns. And this cub was named Smokey. So his name was actually Smokey Bear. And he lived at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. And his story became widely known. And someone, I don't remember who now, someone actually made a song and ended up saying Smokey the Bear in the song, which is how we get Smokey the Bear. His name is actually Smokey Bear. But his story became known around the country, and he became the face behind wildfires. So now we see Smokey the Bear signs everywhere, and they're on signs all over the place telling people about the fire danger, to help them prevent forest fires, and to help them save the wildlife in other areas. Because we don't want to start man-made fires. Fires are good, yes, but only when they're natural or they're done by people who know what they're doing, like the Hotshot Crews and those wildlife firefighters. We are not trained on how to do any of that stuff, so we really don't want to be starting any big fires, or any fires, unless they're in a designated fire pit. So that is all I've got on fires and wildfires and forest fires today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. I really couldn't see who was joining us today unless you commented, so thank you to any of you who did join. If you think of any questions about wildfires or forest fires or anything at any time, feel free to comment on this live, and I will answer you back. I know it's going to get posted onto our Facebook page, and it will be posted on YouTube. So if you aren't following us already, we have our Instagram, our YouTube, and Facebook pages. I assume all of you follow us on Facebook at this point, but if you don't, here's all our information. I hope you guys are having a great summer, and I look forward to seeing you guys during the next Facebook Live. And again, if you guys have any ideas or anything you'd like me to talk about, let me know. And I plan to have the next Facebook Live in 2 weeks. So I will see you guys then. All right, have a great couple weeks. Bye.